When it comes to business, it's focused on doing things the Asian way, on developing a relationship based on trust. And these relationships aren't new ones that we've formed. They've started 15 years ago through much of the executive team that I now have. Where there's a relationship, there's a long-standing way of doing business together that both sides will pay a premium to ensure. And the premium that's paid takes into account all the previous history of trust that was built, and that is going to be honored after the deal is done.
After cable manufacturing, lightweight cable is coiled into a small cable vessel. We call this is cable pan.
The two biggest words I heard the entire time we were trying to put together this financing was "you can't," right? You can't raise the money, you can't get people to believe in this business plan, you can't get the industry's backing. We're very fortunate to have been relentless in pursuing and not taking no for an answer. There are people that build these cables, and when the pain gets too difficult, then they give up. We were relentless about not giving up. In an industry where very few cables actually get built, only 1 or 2 get started per year, and that's out of probably 30 or 40 that attempt it. And before that becomes that 30 or 40, there's probably 100 that have been trying. RTI's relationships with the suppliers, our expertise and our focus, our drive to solve problems that nobody else was trying to solve was perhaps a reason why we have very good backing with the Japanese investment banks. We have some of the biggest and best and brightest companies in the world that we're partnering with as co-builders and landing parties. Every cable is very difficult to get done, and the permitting is always a problem.
The California permitting process is by far the most complex. There are unique parts to it that are not resident in any other area. There are things that just in that process that require time. And it's things like, meeting with city councils and introducing the concepts of what we're trying to get done.
There's impacts initially, but Chris and his team managed that wonderfully.
I was able to help people understand what the process would be, the rigors of it, and be real about how difficult it would be and how long it would take, but that it was achievable. It was something we could do and would get done, and in fact now have done.
For me, kind of that first decision-making calculus is, do I trust the person I'm going to partner with? Number one. Do I feel that he's going to be able to manage a project in our community? And that box was checked.
It was easy for us to step into that commitment and have the confidence that, in the case of California, that was going to be done correctly with the permitting and the construction, etc. Russ had the vision to start that process early on, even before, the supply contract was starting. He was putting his real money in and, making the bet.
We're as dedicated as one can be when you have the vast amount of all of your personal wealth into the outcome of our investment, and that's what we did.
We started talking with Russ Matalich back in 2012, and they were still examining a landing point that they wanted to land somewhere midway between the U.S. and Asia, and Guam being a natural point in the Pacific that is U.S.-owned, U.S. protectorate. Russ and I started to explore the possibility of landing the cable here in Guam with GTA. And so GTA was able to, expand its station to land future cables. And so GTA is going to play an integral role in that and make sure that the assets that are coming on or through our station are protected.
Guam is actually a great point at which many cables, both current as well as planned, allow us to interconnect traffic to the rest of the Asia-Pacific region. The prospect of Hong Kong, Guam, and Japan, Guam, Australia coming online within the next few years makes our capacity going to Guam that much more valuable to us. So Astronomy is one of the largest current users of our long-haul capacity to both the United States as well as to Australia and to Asia.
We are giving them the same benefits of being an incumbent purchaser that they never had before. Before, all the academic institutions were treated like they were outside of the family, and they never got the pricing, the terms, and all the benefits that the big companies do. And RTI doesn't distinguish between the OTTs and the Tier 1s and the Tier 2s and the academic institutions. We treat everybody equally.
It's got to be about trust. It's got to be about that everyone believes at the table that it's a win-win for all parties and not just one party winning it all.
TUS is a very unique cable. The purchasers and the suppliers has a very good relationship. I never have such the project that in a good atmosphere and the collaborations and teamwork. What I never seen in other projects in this other than this CUS.
We're still a very small company. There's still a lot of risk in what we do, and so we can't afford to take anything for granted. We can't afford to pretend that we're bigger than we are. What we try to make sure is, as we maintain relationships, stay focused on adding value to those relationships and telling the truth in terms of what we can and can't do. You can't build a cable without landing parties. You can't solve permitting or landing issues. There's no way you get your cable built. Once you have landing parties, then you have to have a supplier. It has to be a trusted supplier, someone that you can trust, someone that you know that you'll be able to do battle with, because building cables, as everyone knows, everything that can go wrong will, and quite often. Third, you have to have a great team. You have to have an outstanding team that has relationships that can reach through the market and solve complicated problems. And then finally, you have to be able to have access to money. The business plan was always to go Hong Kong to California, but had I told the banks that I needed $500 million because I was going to build 4 cables, then they would have told me I was insane and never lent me the money. So part of it was each component of our investment had to make sense as a standalone investment. But the plan was never to build one segment; it was always to build all 4. CUS East between Guam and California, Hong Kong to Guam, which is currently under construction, Japan Guam North, and Guam Sydney South.
I think most cables are what you might call PowerPoint cable. Lots of cables get talked about that never get developed. That's one of the things we like about working with Russ, is that these projects are real projects with real engineering behind them, real business models behind them. They go to the right places.